Alright, so this is going to be a follow-up to my previous match analysis for Black Dranzer. I wasn't really satisfied with my first take, and I wanted to watch a bit more footage, see if some stuff changed, and more importantly, see how you adjusted throughout the match to notice any changes in gameplay, because I feel like a lot of the feedback that I mentioned you could have easily done throughout the match. So I figured, let's watch some more, have a follow-up to see if I have anything else to add. And I'm going to start at a specific point that I thought was very crucial, and it was a neat adjustment throughout the match. So, is it right around here? Oh, no, I think it was a little bit before. Right, okay, so right here, throughout the round, you were using a lot of forward 4 for keep out. Sweet, no problem. But a little bit, like I want to say like 2 matches ago, actually I don't know this player's name, Doria Tekken, right? He had adjusted, he started baiting out in a distance where he could easily electric you, and then you were just eating shit, right? And then here, you immediately do the back turn, you immediately swap back into just, pressing back and turning it, and then I'm not sure if it's because he did the wind gun fist as opposed to like an actual electric, and so he was able to it whiffed, right? And I think maybe it was due to the poor hitbox of the move. But in this sort of neutral situation, God, I hope I don't go back too far. So right here, you do the. It looks like Fangs has a bald spot, right? All right, look, right here, you do forward 4. You see the Kazuya dashing in to try and go for a move. And I think if he had done an actual electric, you might have been in trouble. You're back turned, and always remember that you have a lot of generic options from back turn, not just forward 4 until wall standing 1, whatever, right? Holding down back to do the very sort of evasive slip away duck that people do when they're back turned. Doing back turn down 3, a generic down 3 from back turn, or not the Fang back turn down 3. Actually, that could also be good. We'll talk about that in a second. But the generic down 3, which is just the little toe tap, right? Importantly, it high crushes, so it doesn't matter how good of a hitbox Electric has, you're crushing it, and you can easily disrupt him for some sweet frame advantage. It'll put you in full crouch, so you can easily just go into wall standing 1 into further stuff, right? And so you have to keep in mind, don't just limit yourself when you're back turned to the Fang back turn options, right? 1+2, 2, 1, etc. down 3. Remember that you have generic options, and especially generic movement. So when you're back turned, holding down back can do a little duck, forcing a whiff out of the Kazuya, especially if it's electric. I would lab the situation, because I think if you did the down back, do the little duck, and he does electric, and he did wall standing 3, not sure if that works, right? So you may want to try do like full crouch down forward 2 or something. Experiment with that, but I just wanted to highlight again, generic options, especially the down back one that does the little duck to create more evasiveness, more whiff punishment opportunities. Or you stay in this distance that you're at, right? But here, as he's getting in, you just do back turn down, the generic down 3, right? You could do down 3. I mean, he's going for electric, and down 3 you'll crush it. You're doing a high crush move, so you have options there, and I definitely consider experimenting with those more, because you use a lot of forward 4, and don't just finish the string. Remember that back turned is a stance for Fang, and he's not as flashy as Kunimitsu because fucking DLC overpoweredness and whatever, but. And he's not as fancy as Master Raven, because not everybody can have an armor move out of back turned. But you have a lot of really scary options, especially when the opponent, any fucking Mishima, just to they love their electrics, the flex. But you have a lot of you have a lot of options, both generic and Fang specific, to utilize there. No, let's keep going. I don't know if it was too obvious with the core circle forward one, or if he just had a good read at that time, but we'll talk about that more later. Okay, so these situations, right? He clearly whiffed while standing 4. You're clearly in Kenpo. And this situation has come up a few times where he whiffed a move, you're in Kenpo, and it's you sort of let it go back to neutral. This is not like a die-hard method, but consider just letting rip Kenpo 1, right? You want to get that sweet chunky chip-in damage from the low, and you want that frame advantage to further, throw in some mix-ups there. Because let's look at this situation, right? Oh, well, he's actually ducking. Rip me. But again, it's like that. You want to condition them to be afraid of Kenpo 1 throughout the set. A lot of times in the past, you sort of just let it go back, and I think you were at a distance where Kenpo 1 could have easily chunked in for some damage. In that situation, yeah, he looked like he was ready for the duck, probably because he was at the wall. But in the neutral, try to utilize Kenpo 1 to capitalize on whiff punishment a bit more. And sometimes it won't be whiff punishment, right? It'll be the opponent was just holding back to block, and that's fine. But the idea is that when they go into Kenpo and they whiffed and they are clearly scared, you want to switch back into some sort of, you want to scare them into ducking, so then you can then go for some of your mids from Kenpo. And that is the tricky part, right? Like you have some options there. I think you were fine at the start of just doing some Kenpo, seeing how much he whiffs, and then letting it go back to neutral to continue it. But as the matches progressed, I think you let a lot of damage on the table. You left a lot of damage on the table by not using Kenpo 1 a bit more. In this particular situation, he was ready for it with a duck. So I would let me just check right now. Yeah. So he could have launched. So that is my bad. But I still think the point stands of like you want to be ready to rip, because you need to capitalize on as much damage as you can. Fang is not necessarily as good as Kazuya is in stealing momentum back, right? Especially when you compare the two rage drives. Like Fang's rage drive is solid, but it's not quite the bullshit move Kazuya's can be. Let's continue. That's another thing that I've noticed. I feel like I'll rewatch it later, maybe. But I feel like you wake up and do an attack a bit too often. I'm not entirely sure what the call out was going to be there. I think you were fine being a bit more patient. But again, it's a tough, ambiguous situation. In the past, like you had good call outs with your race drive shoulder. I just think in the wake up, you would tend to attack often more than is necessary, and then the Kazuya and Doria has been ready to sort of just hang back and let you do a move to punish. I never know if that move is a mid or not. I always keep thinking it's a low, but I don't think it is. Actually, I'll hold off. Let's just focus. All right, right. So right here, right, drops the combo. You do the forward 4, you whiffs. The Kazuya doesn't punish you, and you just do like you hold back and go back into neutral. Remember, you're in a stance, right? You're in back turned, and if the Kazuya is ducking in your face, that's an easy 1+2. And because 1+2 isn't gonna, it keeps you back turned. You can do a 1+2 to quickly try and check him, and then quickly use generic duck. Do down back to do the generic duck from back turn that people do. And so mixing up your entries and exits out of back turned to try and create more confusing and ambiguous situations so the Kazuya can't really read your timing as much. That was just unfortunate. So right here, that's another tough situation, because it's not exactly bait. He just has a good timing on your read. He has a good read on your timings. I'd have to watch the match more, but you probably could have done a call out with the hop kick in that situation at that -1, because in the past you've always done while standing 1 into a move. The Kazuya is going to be ready to challenge with a dick jab and try and disrupt you. I was going to say, in addition to while standing 1, you can try doing, snake dashing into back 4 maybe. I granted back 4 locks you down, it ends your turn, and while standing 1 does give you that offense, but it's just more about varying up your timing and options to not be so predictable. Because remember, throughout the match, it's always been while standing 1 into a move, or while standing 1 into continue your turn, because the Kazuya is pretty passive, right? But now the Kazuya is showing signs of adaptation, like he's ready to dick jab you out of your follow-up after while standing 1. It's tough, but yeah, we'll see. That was just unfortunate. Okay. Again, so with the down forward 3+4, I'm not exactly sure what the goal is there, right? The Kazuya is not really moving around too much. Not quite. It's when he's approaching, and then he starts trying to approach, wave dash, sidestep, because he's expecting a back 1. But again, you run the risk of down forward 3+4 being a bit too slow for whatever the Kazuya throws out. So it's a weird situation. But I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of it in neutral, but I don't think it's a huge deal. Nice. That is unfortunate. That's a drop. Mm. Mm. Oh, it's unfortunate. Mm. Can Kazuya not launch shoulder from standing? It's probably just electric. RIP! Yeah. Okay, so that was solid. That brings me into another point I'll talk about more. Nice. Okay. I'm not the biggest fan of back forward 1. I know I see enough things easier. I don't really see the point. It's just too much risk. You better have the a fucking really good call out to use a move that's launch punishable on block. And then you just get counter hit out of it. I don't know. It's just weird. I felt like you were fine. I disagree with the situation. Right? Look at your life lead. Look at how fat your life lead is compared to this Kazuya, right? The Kazuya has to put in way more work than you do. I don't think a backswing blow was that necessary, right? You just hang back a little bit, and then as the Kazuya approaches, then you just slam out up forward 2 or something to try and chip them in. I'm not the biggest fan of backswing blow. That's just me personally. So we'll see how that goes. Why? What was the... Remember, okay, in the future, right, when you do like a snake dash into a big call out move like that, remember you've done this in the past, right? You've already snake dashed in before, or the instant little snake dash that Fang does into while standing one always, and the Kazuya has never challenged you at the start. It's always while standing one into something that he tries to challenge you. So keep that in mind when you do bigger call outs like that. When you try to go for like hop kick, it's that you want to keep the same lead in and then change the ending, right? It's like I'm not going to try any fancy analogy here. It's that you want to keep the wall standing one, but change what the follow up after. That was always kind of like the timing that the Kazuya seemed to be reading, right? You'll do a wall standing one, the Kazuya will respect it, and then you'll do other stuff. And later on, you'll do wall standing one, the Kazuya's trying to dick jab and breaks whatever follow up, right? So it should have been wall standing one into hop kick if you're going for that big of a call out already, or just down forward 3. Well, actually, no, hop kick would have crushed the low jab. Yeah, so just hop kick. Yeah, see, right there. It was like forward, down back, boom! Look at that clean whiff, right? The Kazuya's doing down forward 2, and he just whiffed. Delicious. And so now you have that prime opportunity to try and like go in, take your turn at this distance, and easy down back 3 for chip damage. Going for core circle forward 1, core circle 1 plus 2. It's really about just using your generic options, your generic movement or tools to create a different type of opportunity than you would trying to utilize Fang's back turn specific options. It's a tough situation. I don't know if you would have had time to do wall standing 3. I don't think you could have gotten like a big call out, but I think wall standing 1 would have been fine, right? You do the whiff, you're still in crouch, you just do wall standing 1 to get in there. In this particular situation, it's hard in the heat of the moment, right? But again, try to reinforce that a bit more. Try to use more forward 4 into generic back turn options, and see what your opponent does. Again, with the down forward 2-2, I talked about it in the previous video. I'm not quite sure what your goal is with that type of move. I feel like you have better options for mid to pressure and to try and do stuff afterwards, right? But it is what it is. You do a lot of down back 2, and I don't think it does that much. Oh. Huh. Okay, so it is a lot more safer than I anticipated, which is cool, right? I think the problem is that you could have easily just done... Yeah, so I think you could have easily, in those situations where you're doing down back 2, right? Oh. Right, when you're in that situation, when you're doing down back 2, I think you can use down 2 a bit more there, right? You're looking at the same amount of, basically the same startup, and more importantly the same high crush, right? These moves are the same. However, one is a 5 damage low that leaves you neutral to +1 on hit, usually more neutral. You're not going to really hit this thing meaty, right? But the 5 damage is so pathetic, and down 2. You risk some slightly worse frames, right? It's -12 on block. Kazuya's not going to launch you, so who gives a shit? And it's -1 on hit, so your turn is typically over. I mean, it's Fang. Your turn is never over. You just press up forward 2 or some other move, and you're fine. So I think down 2, in areas where you're going to use down back 2 like that, just use down 2. You want the chunky damage. Again, you're trying to chunk your opponent's life here. 5 damage is not going to put you in it is not going to do enough. It's not going to build you enough momentum, right, to really capitalize later on. You're not building yourself up to something. You're just mildly annoying your opponent. If you're using down back 2-2 a bit more to try and as a counter hit call out, maybe. But if you're just going to use down back 2 and then use it as a reset to neutral situation, just do down 2. Right? The situation is not the best. It's -1. What's the Kazuya going to do? Down forward 1, right? -1 against Kazuya is obviously not ideal, but it's not that scary. It's I think the extra 12 damage you would be getting with down 2 is very key, especially as the matches progress and you need to like make sure that your chip damage leads in, because you've gotten down 2 a few times, right? And you've gotten throughout this series of match, and the total amount of damage you would have gained from all the down 2s you've done this entire match, or down back 2s you've done this entire match, would be like 40, right? Now imagine if those down back 2s were down 2s, and you would have actually gone chunks and chunks of your opponent's health off, right? Probably enough to make this gap more and make those like life situations with the opponent still like a 30 to 40 down to like a 20. And it gives you, it basically, you are doing down 2 and getting in more early chip damage makes your life easier later on in those close to ending match situations, right? It's just about setting yourself up to have an easier time. That's funny. Yo, I always die to that string. I'm fucking terrible. I love it. Oh. Yeah, again, I don't quite get what like the goal of that was gonna be, right? Why do back forward 1 in that situation? I feel like you were fine. I think at the wall you stopped doing a bit more sidestep stuff, but I think you were fine just doing sidestep 1+2. Yeah, never duck against Kazuya 3. Oh, rip. Okay, I guess it's look at the guy's face. Right. Tragedy. I think, yeah, just back 4, back 1. The moment you start seeing the spinny lights and stuff, just don't deal with it. But again, it's a reaction thing. Yeah, it is what it is. And then you factor in online, and it's a shit show. I think that's like the first. That's like the first flash punch punish that he did against this stuff, right? Less than yeah, was -12. Yeah, he should have been doing that more. More importantly, how fast is this move? Oh, that's really fucking slow. It is what it is. Okay, so maybe that. So that clearly seems to be in your goal at the wall. Like you're trying to catch him pressing buttons or challenging you. And I don't know, man. It's really just kind of like you face a more passive opponent, and granted, you change your playstyle obviously if you're facing a more passive opponent. But I just feel like what's the difference between doing that and doing like a sidestep mix-up with sidestep 4 and the other stuff? It's a weird situation to be in. I think. How fast is back forward 1? Holy shit, that move is stupidly slow. I guess it doesn't matter because it's a backswing blow, so that shit's incredibly evasive. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what's like a mid call out you could have done. Maybe up forward 3. But this is a personal opinion. Again, keep using the move if it's working out for you, it's working out, right? But it's like, why are you trying to use a launch punishable and block move as a mix up at the wall, right? You don't have any pushback to like keep you safe or try to, cheese your way out of it. You are putting way more risk on yourself than you need to. You were one combo away from death, so it's whatever. But I think you were fine. I don't think you needed to like put all that on a launch punishable moves like that. I don't know. It is what it is. I don't think it was like the worst thing. I'm just not a big fan of that move. Oh, that was they're gonna keep playing. Okay. So recap, right? Neutral. when you're using forward 4 and any back turn entry, remember that you have more options from back turn than just Fang's back turn options. And I think, honestly, I think you could have gained a lot just from doing back turn down 3 every now and again, because he was always approaching you. He had no fear, especially when he got like a few good electrics in when you're doing forward 4 back. I think you could have easily just done, forward 4 back into down 3. Fang's down 3 in this situation. But so that's another thing, is I think you need to experiment more with your back turned options. It's doing the down back to bait more whiffs, or doing down 3, both Fang down 3 for the sweep combo, or generic down 3, so just down back, I think down forward 3, down back 3 in that situation, to disrupt your opponent. And the back turn generic back turn down 3 is actually really good. You're like +3 or some shit. I labbed it a while ago. I forget. I'll double check again, and I'll message you I'll message and critique if it was wrong. But again, it's that situation of you're using more tools to help mix up your timings than simply just doing forward 4 back. You adjusted a little bit as the matches progressed, and I think it would have been interesting to see more adjustments. So yeah, if you like forward 4 back, you were using it pretty well. Just remember to utilize other options to help mask your you don't want a flow chart, right? And what else? Neutral is fine. You look solid. Nothing too gimmicky. But I think your options in terms of your flow of attack, right? You're not necessarily flow charting. In some situations you were, because you did a lot of like snake dash while standing 1 into move into other stuff. But you were fine because you were finishing the string while standing 1 2 1 and then catching him because he was trying to challenge you and stuff, and that's fine. So it's not necessarily the flow chart. It's just that you need to do more to vary up your flow of attacks. Do while standing 1 into hop kick when the Kazuya starts to show that he's going to try and challenge you, or just let the string rip a bit more, right? We talked about down forward 2 too. I think you have better mid options to try and like call them out. More also, I think down forward 4 is a strong poke that I think you should utilize more. It's that you want a long range mid poke to just don't duck. You can do a lot of mileage with just simple down forward 4 and down back 3, right? Just keep pestering them, making them not sure to duck, and especially down forward 4-3, right? Down forward 4-3, that new string, amazing whiff punish, right? Amazing whiff punish to super solid mix-up opportunity for you. So I think, if you imagine this, right? You do down forward 4 back, you do down back, the opponent whiffs, and then you immediately go down forward 4-3, or just do down back 3, etc. And then I think you can do a lot more in terms of with how you capitalize on whiff punishes. I want to reiterate again that you want to use more down 4 throughout the match. Like there was this match where the Kazuya's at the wall. I don't think I can find it. You're at the wall here? No, he just does that thing. Tragedy. Tragedy. Okay, look. Picture this. Kazuya's at the wall, hypothetically, and he's on the ground, and you're just waiting for him to do stuff. Force him to do stuff. Do down 4. Down 4 hits grounded. Down 4 is fast, easy chip damage. How much are we looking at? Yeah, 7 damage is not that much. But where you're using down back 2, you could also use down 4, right? Neutral on hit, tracks pretty well, super fast, very hard to sort of get the read on, nowhere near close to like launch punishable. It's only -11, right? And you want to use that to keep pestering your opponent, right? Keep pestering your opponent and use that speed, and especially like at this round start situation at this distance, not just at round start, but just in general. If you're at this ambiguous distance from the opponent, you're not sure. Down forward 1 fucking sucks. I hate its shitty hitbox, but you're not sure if down forward 1's gonna reach. Down 4 always reaches, right? Use that more to keep chipping away at your opponent. Oh, that's an awkward look for the guy. Okay. Just do more to keep chipping at your opponent in the neutral situation. And then in these situations where you're using down back 2, I think you can stand to gain a bit more if you just use down 2 instead, right? It's not, you don't have to worry about twin pistons, and more importantly, you need to keep racking up that chip damage. So in the later parts of the game where he's at low health, instead of being, let's say, like right at the rage range, he's actually closer to like one good poke away or one good mix-up away from death. Whereas with down back 2, right, if you keep using down back 2, who knows where he's at? Maybe he's like right here, because 5 damage is not a lot, right? You need to be, you basically, in summary, utilize your more chunky pokes, right? Combos and Oki. Oki, I think you need to experiment more with your grounded options, down 4 to help pester when they're on the ground and stuff like that. I'm not the biggest fan of back forward 1 in that type of situation. I think you're just putting too much risk on yourself. But I mean, if you're facing an aggressive opponent and you had that really good call out with back forward 1 counter hit into stomp into, chunks of damage, but I'm just not the biggest fan. It just puts too much risk on yourself, more than you have to, right? And then what else? Combos and Oki were fine. Matchup and punishment, I think you let the guy get away with too many down forward 2s, but at the same time, it's kind of like you adjusted as the matches progressed and you did punish it more. I think you could experiment more with whiff punishing, right? When you're doing forward 4 back, down back, the Kazuya whiffs, see if while standing 3 reaches or do while standing 1 into stuff like that. Really just kind of like try to go for chunkier whiff punishes. And see what you can do with there. I don't think your whiff punishment game is bad. I think you're solid, but I do think that you could definitely step up in that area, especially with like doing Kenpo, creating a whiff, and then just let Kenpo 1 rip, right? If you're sure they're gonna duck, then do Kenpo 1 and then do a snake dash into wall standing 1 or something, right? Try to make them respect your Kenpo and make them afraid. The last thing, personal opinion stuff. Yeah, it's really just, I think your punishes, not punishes, you could be using your more chunky moves that do the job that you're trying to do, but better, right? Down forward 2-2 could easily be quarter circle forward 1+2, in my opinion. And also down back 2 could easily be down 2. More damage, same frame of crush, right? Still crushes on frame 6. You're not going to have to worry about electric, you're not going to have to worry about 1-1-2, whatever, right? And stuff like that, where utilizing more down forward 4, down 4 to help keep the opponent on their toes and make them respect when you go for down back 3 stuff. I think you're very passive or very reserved with your down back 3 usage, which is understandable. And the Kazuya's not really pressing buttons where you'll end up in that counter hit situation a lot. But I think it's kind of like you need to utilize more pokes to help reinforce, like, to keep the opponent in check, right? To keep mixing them up of like, oh, is he going for down back 3? Oh no, they just eat a down 4, or down forward 4, or down forward 4, down forward 4, down forward 4, 3, etc. Stuff like that. Not much else to add. Overall, I thought you played well, especially your adjustments later on in the match. And it's really more about try to utilize tools that either, look, if they're going to end your turn, at least make it count. Like, get in some really good chunky damage in there. Otherwise, you're not saving yourself any time. 5 damage is not going to save. Yeah, it's 5 damage. Like, it's better than 0, but it's still not enough to make your job easier in the later portion of the round or match, where the opponent still has more life than they would have if you use something like down 2. And more importantly, try to use more stuff that doesn't end your turn as much, like down forward 2-2 and stuff. He never really challenged you, so it was kind of whatever, but it is what it is. Yeah, not much else to add. I thought you played well. I just wanted to review it a bit more and see if I had anything else to add other than my first impressions. Yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know, or if you're looking for Fang Tech, you're in the Fang Discord. Those guys are great. They're super passionate about the character. Feel free to ask them any questions you want. And yeah, it's really just about, I think you have a solid foundation built up, and I think if you incorporate more tools, some Fang specific, some not, it can help you really vary up your timing and help you, condition your opponent a bit more. Cool.